Hey guys, Taylor Mecca here with another nice little Gold Nuggets update. It's been a while, but I've had to do some surgeries and I've had to do some other things, so I'm just glad to be back and have a little bit of time to talk to you guys today. So today what we're going to go over is from what I read in John Meacham's book, Thomas Jefferson, The Art of Power. I'm not really going to go a lot into the intimate details of Jefferson as a politician. Everybody has their own viewpoints about it. I have my own viewpoints about it. I'm not really going to go much into that. I really just found some of Jefferson's writings, like a lot of what we admire about Jefferson was how brilliant he was as a thinking person of the Enlightenment period. But he was a very philosophical type. But there are just some really good things that he said that really I was like, oh my gosh, what is it that really rings true even with today? So I picked 3 different ones that are going to be the most, I thought, like, ooh, the coolest to share. So the first one is, what is practicable must often control what is pure theory. The habits of the governed determine in a great degree what is practicable. And so just talking that idea about, okay, you've got a great idea, woohoo, but if you can't put it into action, it's going to stay a theory. It's not, and not saying that your idea would have like good points to it, but the only way to test how a theory really works is realistic application. And so just talking about that idea of whether it is those who are above us in authority, whether that's government, whether that's a business, they are trying to determine in a great degree what is practicable, because they don't want to go just off of great ideas. They want to go off of great ideas that were implemented, that were observed, that were reported, and then assessed. Yes, it takes a lot of the fun out of it sometimes, but all the great things that you love, movies, music, those were great ideas that became practicable. So just some little bit of wisdom there. Really cool, really, really cool. This one really impacted me. Well, actually, these last 2 really impacted me as a therapist, but I guess the first one did too, because even my job as a therapist, we're dealing with a lot of theoretical ideas with people, but when it comes to how do we help someone apply what they are learning to better their life, that is the most important thing. So, but these other 2 I thought were even more so in regards to being a therapist and the wisdom that can be shared even from someone who lived 250 years ago or so. So he also goes on to say, for in many instances, the surest route to winning a friend isn't to convince him you are right, but that you care what they think. Everyone wants to believe that what they have to say is fascinating, illuminating, and possibly even epical. That one really hit me when I was like, oh my gosh, as a therapist, that makes so much sense. Why is it that I hear so many people's stories and, I just try to listen? Because number one, if you really do try to listen, you'll get so much of an epic story, no matter how tiny the situation may be, or no matter how intense the situation is. If you really listen, even the most minute story can sound epical based on how you perceive what someone is sharing. But when you feel like you don't get anything from anybody, it's not always that that person doesn't have anything to say. Sometimes it's also changing how you think you're listening. But it's that last part of everyone wants to believe that what they have to say is fascinating, illuminating, and possibly even epical. It's very much like my work with little children. Oh my gosh, talk about people who, a group and a population that really wants you to listen to them, because when they start talking about what it is that excites them, what it is that they want to do, like it is so fascinating, illuminating, and epical. even if it doesn't make any sense at all. It's what you see in their eyes, it's what you hear in their tone of voice, it's what you hear just all in all from that group, or pretty much anybody, but kids are really a big example of that. So recognize that when you are able to listen to someone, it's not about convincing them that you are right, but that you care what they think. That is really important. And then if they walk away feeling like you cared and you listened, that has been one of the biggest things that, even when I have thought that therapy was not as helpful for somebody, they were like, no, it's because you really cared about what I had to say. Even if it maybe didn't lead to a lot of practical change in their life, sometimes just having that safe place that is not going to judge what you say can be really, really helpful. And so the last one also comes from Thomas Jefferson as well. But, I mean, wow, this is just another great one. It tends to be more difficult to oppose, or at least vilify, someone with whom you have broken bread and drunk wine. Caricatures crack as courses are served. Imagined demonic plots fade with dessert. When you have an opinion about somebody, how they live, what they do, and who they are as a person, it really becomes a very awkward and difficult thing when you are sitting down with them at a dinner table and sharing a meal with them. It really is one of the quickest ways that we can really bond and connect with someone. The quickest way that you can get to know someone is go eat with them. Go and allow yourselves to be vulnerable, because number one, you've got to be vulnerable to let your body actually eat and process food. If you're constantly anxious or worried, you're not going to be able to eat, and that is a very telltale sign of you're not having an easy time connecting with someone. But the longer that you do it, it's how Thomas Jefferson, that even though he was a polarizing figure, as most politicians tend to be, he would still invite even those that were considered his political enemies over for dinner, and would still talk with them and share ideas about what to do, what was best for the nation. And people walked away being like, they may not agree with him, but they liked who he was as a person. And that's fine. It's like, I know that there are people who don't like my style of how I do therapy, and there are plenty of other people who would be a better match for them. But my hope is that as they spend time with me and get to know me as a person, which is so far what I've heard the most, is people were like, hey, it's not about you, it's just how you do therapy that I don't think that this is going to work. And so I'm like, okay, I vouch for that. I'm not always going to fit every person or what their need is. But really understand that power, that intimacy, and that trust that it takes to break bread and drink wine with someone, and to see if you still walk away with that exact same level of opposition or vilification of themselves or their ideals. So just a couple of different pieces of wisdom today from Thomas Jefferson. As I said, not as much about what he did politically. We're not going to get much into that like I have with pretty much any of the other presidents. I don't care as much about all the political stuff they did, but there were some pieces of wisdom that they left behind that I really think is like, hey, we could use this even today. So the idea about, if you have a goal, if you've got something in mind about what you want to do, make it practicable, make it pragmatic, get it into action, because that will then show how really good that theory is by showing how it is in action. Also, reminding ourselves too that listening is so important, and trying to believe that what someone says and what they have to say is fascinating, illuminating, and possibly even epical. And lastly, that if you really want to oppose or vilify someone, go to their house, eat a meal, drink wine, have a conversation, eat dessert, do all those things, and see what happens as you walk away, and if anything about your opinion may change about them. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. This was great. This was really fun, and hopefully some more will be coming out soon. Thank you so much for your time, guys.